Hey everybody, this is Jim of Animateducated, and today we're going on a tour of Apartment D. So Apartment D is a stop-motion studio here in Burbank, California. It's run by Max Lopez, Cami Kwan, and Sean Maloney. In addition to being an owner, Cami serves as the head of production. And Cami was nice enough to take some time out of her busy schedule to show me around the studio.
I'm one of the founding partners of Apartment D. There are three of us, myself, Max Lopez, and Sean Maloney. The three of us are the owners here, partners of Apartment D. I am one of our directors as well as one of our producers. So depending on the project, I'll either be in a directing capacity or producing capacity based on what we need. Both of the other partners also follow that same thing. Max is generally our executive producer or president, so he does a lot of our large-scale planning, but he'll step in as a director every now and then, and also as an armaturist or rigger, because those are his backgrounds. And Sean is our creative director, I would say. He generally does not produce. That normally is myself and Max, but Sean will direct or animate or do a lot of our technical direction as well.
And this is like one of the first ones you worked on. It's like looks like you made a cardboard.
Yeah, it's one of the first ones that the guys made when they had just moved out. It's one of our first originals, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a fun one.
Right now, the country is divided and people's emotions are raw. What we need is to step back and have a real conversation of what's just happened here. I know I speak from a place of privilege. I'm a fucking giant bug monster. But if there's anything I know, it's that fear and anger can break down a conversation before it even begins. What we need is critical thought and a willingness to listen.
Every stage in our studio is connected to the main server, and then when we work with remote people, normally for post or pre-production, we link them to the server so that everybody's working off the same files, which makes it way easier.
Oh,
this is our control panel for a music video we did called 6969 for a band called Ninja Sex Party. All of these buttons are actually like lighting gels, so we would put lights under here and light it from underneath, and then it would light up. So it's very cool. It's somewhat interactive if you're delicate, if you're gentle.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. This is our animation station. It's a little disheveled because we just wrapped a production, so it's a little crazy, but this is where all of our animators' tools are. So that can be anything from drill bits to sewing pins to so many measuring tapes, to museum gel, different colors of clay, all sorts of stuff. And this is also where we keep our rigging, which is ball and socket rigging, like you would see in a high quality feature armature. So anything in there is usually ball and socket. So that's what we use to get the puppets to lift up in the air. Anytime they need to lift up in the air, we'll use rigging like this. So this is, we can machine this in-house if we want to. Generally, we don't have the time, so we'll get it made elsewhere, but this is what Max and I started doing in the studio system, where they're machining armatures and rigging parts and stuff.
Cool.
This city needs to be cleaned up. It may be after bedtime, but they need a hero. They need me. They need the Blue Mist.
So the Blue Mist, he's got a wire armature inside of him, which will look something more similar to this. Technically floral wire and armature wire. So every studio has their own recipe for wires, and you're going to change it for every puppet based off of what kind of tension and acting you need from them. So the Blue Mist has a wire armature in here similar to this. He's got body blocks for grip points, and they'll normally have these brass stock in there. That's for rigging, so that we can jam that rigging in there to get him to lift off into the air. And then his foot will have tie-down holes in it, so that's a little threaded piece that we would insert a threaded rod to tie him down to the deck so that he can stand and hold. Yes, this is a ball and socket armature. This is going to be more what you'll find in I I don't know, any kind of feature film or long-running television show, if you're lucky, you'll get a ball and socket armature. They are much more expensive, but they are much longer lasting, and you get much more control over how your puppet is moving.
Right.
So there's pros and cons to wire and versus ball and socket. It depends on what you're making and what your budget is and what your timeline is. But this is a ball and socket armature, so it's got joints everywhere you'd expect it to, little toe joint there, and these are all the points where you would tension how it feels. So part of your job when you're an assistant or an animator working on a film with something like this is to know from the outside of the puppet where exactly you're going to jab into him to know how to loosen or tighten any given part of the body.
Right.
It's also got body blocks. It's got places. He doesn't have brass stock, actually. This one's got threaded spots for a threaded rod, which tells you that it's a little old-fashioned. I think modern armatures like this probably would not have a threaded rod rigging point. It would most likely have a brass stock, and then you'd put a spike in there, which we don't really use so much here, but that's what you would use. This is technically a 2.5D puppet. She's not really fully 3D because, as you can see in the back, there's nothing back here. So we designed her specifically to be seen the way that she's seen in that specific short.
Right.
And so that gives it a really uncanny kind of nightmare quality, and also like it's represents trash, and so it's made out of trash, it's made out of cardboard and stuff. And so you get a lot of like depth and like and all this movement and action from it, but it's only supposed to be seen from very specific angles. So it's technically 2.5D, which again gives it that really uncanny quality to it. But yeah, this is Were Raccoon. She's hard to animate, but honestly one of my favorite puppets. I think the effect that she gives is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the Dick Elder from 6969.
Oh, okay.
His eyes do light up, which is very, very cool. They actually so his brain wires go up, up, up and away. So you never see the end of them in the film, but actually they're powering his eyes, which do light up when you plug it all in. So he also kind of has this uncanny quality where you don't really see how his head connects to his body, and you never really need to, but it's just this coiled up wire, so he can lift his head up and suspend it and bounce it and do all sorts of stuff. So he's very strange looking.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then this is one of the toys from, we do a lot of Monster High music videos, so one of those. And then this was a gift from Middlemost Post, which is the Nickelodeon show we most recently worked with. But we did a miniature of the main ship, and then we did a full build of the main ship. So that's what this guy is. And that was a really fun project because we had to take 2D designs in a 2D world and kind of bring it into the stop motion space. So that was really, really fun to do. That's one of the things we like doing best at Apartment D is bringing 2D graphics and 2D sensibilities into the stop motion space. These are our stages. Some of the stages still have NDA sets on them, so can't open them up. But we have about 8 stages in the studio. This particular alleyway will have about 6 of them. They're fairly large in size. I think one of the small stages is it's not very well lit. Oh wait, I can light it. Hold on.
Wow. Look at that thing.
Yeah, so we have AC. Our smaller stages, we have 3, are generally about this big. Right now this one's being used for storage, but we can fit anything from ideally a 2x4, but we can go all the way up to a 4x6 if we really have to into one of these. So we have 3 of these small stages, and then on this side are our large stages. So this is about as big as our large stages are. That one's NDA, this one's fine. So these large stages, we fit anything from, we can fit anything as small as a 2x4 to anything as large as like an 8x12, an 8x16 if we really have to. Like to cap it at an 8x12 though, if you ask the DP.
And now you basically build all this here, but somewhere else. Or, I mean, some, not in here, but building it.
Right, we build it in our shop, which is in the
Right.
back, which
Oh,
I'll show
okay.
you.
Great.
So yeah, we build it in the back, and then we cart it through,
Right.
and set it up here, and light it in here, and this is where we shoot it. Most of our sets are done practically. Sometimes we'll do, sometimes we'll composite stuff in the end. We'll either shoot the puppets separate from the set, which I'll show you how we do that, or we shoot parts of the set here, but then like fill the rest of the set out in post. Generally, we'll do that if there's supposed to be stuff going on in the sky like stars.
Oh.
You know, sometimes clients want stars in one pass, but then another person doesn't want stars later, so it's hard to like put all the time and effort into lighting your sky with practical stars unless you know they want it. So normally stuff like that, we'll leave it to the end. But we do have practically painted backdrops. They're a little wrinkly right now, but we'd steam them before we start shooting.
Oh, wow. Really good.
And this is our lighting nook. So all the gear that we own generally lives here in some manner of organization. We've got a little bit of a solder station back there, a camera cabinet. So this is where we store and organize all of our lighting gear. But this is our big board.
Wow,
So
okay.
this whole board covers about 6 weeks worth of production. So what we do is we take the storyboards, and for every shot we make one panel, and you can kind of flip through, and so you can check and see, oh, what's happening in this shot. So in each of those shot cards you can see what's happening, and then we'll time it out day by day. So all of these columns are days, and each of the rows are different sets. So we
okay.
can know on Friday 6/16 we are going on set 1 to be doing shot 660.
Wow.
So you know exactly what it is and how long it's going to be. So you can kind of figure out and plan and schedule your entire production just based off of all of that. It also helps us keep all the puppet use in order. So if we only have 3 puppets, we know it can only be in 3 places each day. So that helps us keep all of that in order. Yeah, we wanted to make sure when we built the studio that the big board was a space that was also very public, so that's why our lunchroom is also in here,
Oh, okay.
break room,
Right.
because we wanted to have a high level of transparency for our crew so they know like why decisions are being made and what decisions are being made. So we wanted everybody to feel ownership over the project together and also have that high level of transparency between production and the crew so that everybody knows why things happen. We got our fridge here.
Gotta get a fridge there. That's
And then
good.
we have 2 stages in here.
Okay.
These are our smaller stages.
Okay.
This is a down shooter.
Right.
So, which, you know, it's because it's shooting straight down. It's not quite the, you know, Walt Disney multiplane, but
Not
it does
quite.
the job.
You got one plane there.
Yeah, we could have more, but generally we've found what works better for us is to shoot this front light, backlight, and then composite different pieces together. So what that means for us is this is front light, so
Right.
everything takes one photo like this with everything lit from the front. But then we'll take another photo with everything lit from the back, which let's see if it'll do it. Then we'll take everything lit from the back. So we'll light it from here. So what we end up with is just a silhouette of what we just shot. And then we'll use that to comp everything together and like key out the background so that we can put just this element in with anything else that we need.
Right. So you got a matte and counter matte kind of
Exactly,
thing happening.
exactly, yeah. And then we have another front light, backlight over here, which is not truly set up, but if you imagine it being front lit,
Oh, okay.
then this becomes
Oh,
the
wow.
backlight, so you can have a
Oh,
full
yeah,
puppet.
yeah. Okay.
And
so you're
that's
making mats of your puppet, so you don't have to. Yeah, that's
exactly,
great.
yeah.
Very
So that's how we can get away with making fewer sets than we
Right.
truly need,
Right.
because it's a lot more efficient to build one set and shoot on that all the time, but then shoot the puppets on here and then just comp them into photos of the set
Right.
later on. So that's something that we do here. It works better than green screen. For stop motion, green screen doesn't work very well.
Right.
Because they're so small, they have to be really close to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So the light reflects back on them in a way that's just like truly terrible for post.
Yeah.
So front light, backlight, because we animate frame by frame, works great for us in a way that it wouldn't work for live action.
Yeah.
So FLBL, it also is a lot more friendly to things like hair and fur and small details like lace.
Right.
Yeah, green screen is useful in some capacities, not all of them. So FLBL is our preferred method. And then then this is our set shop, where we build all of the stuff that you see. This is our spray booth. It's in the process, we're dialing it in, but that's a spray booth, so we can spray whatever we need to, get those toxins out of there. We are we're experimenting with 3D printing right now, so that's what this little setup is. We haven't really dove into it yet, we haven't needed to, but we're starting to work towards it. It's really common in stop motion, we just haven't owned one yet, but now we do, so we'll see how that goes.
Great.
This is our like wood shop area, so this is where we build stuff like this, our big walls. So this is a set piece for about 8 to 10 inch dolls, and on it, between you and me, it honestly could have been a little taller, but so you can kind of see the scale that we're going at for, this is shooting a scene with like 6 8 to 10 inch dolls in it, so already quite large. And then we have our little machine shop back here. This is where we make that rigging that we saw, and also where we can make armatures and things like that. So it's all very basic machining items, lots of drill presses, lots of lathes, well, not lots, one lathe, grinding, cutting, all the basic tools, basic tools that you need, but you can really make anything with all of these just depending on how long you are willing to spend on it.
Right.
But yeah, these are the kinds of stuff that Max and I learned making armatures and things on back in the day. And then we have all our painting and clean fabrication back here. We do a lot of paper work, so we use a silhouette cutter, which I don't know if you're familiar with a silhouette cutter. It's a lot like a printer, except for instead of ink, it has a razor blade, so you can draw whatever you want digitally, and then you run it through this, and it will automatically like cut it out for you. So that's really useful if you need to make multiples of something, and it's really useful. We did. It didn't get, that specific technique didn't get picked up, but we used it to do a shrinking gag, basically, where the world was made out of paper, and so we made tiny versions of the world and big versions of the world, and it was easy because we just drew it, we just drew it once, and then we scaled that up and down digitally, and then just cut those pieces in the various sizes, so then we just did replacement animation. So that was really cool. You can also use 3D programs like Blender or Rhino or something and build a set piece in 3D, and then you can unwrap it so that you can kind of cut and score that design flat, and then when it comes out you can refold it to shape what it is you modeled in CG. So there's so many applications with a silhouette cutter. They are great. So we got years and years worth of old items around here, lots of little things.
That's great.
And that is that. So yeah, you can see they've got so many different walls, so many different floors, all sorts of stuff. Everything up there is storage from past projects. So it's very organized at the moment because, like I said, we did just wrap something. So everything's nice and neat and tucked away right now. One of the cool things about stop motion is you can really tailor it to fit any kind of budget that you have to work with, as long as you're willing to be flexible with the style. So, for instance, if you want to make a 3-minute music video, if you want a fully rendered puppet like one of these, and you want 7 different characters and you want them all fully dimensional, that's going to be fairly expensive to achieve. However, if you're willing to make it just 1 or 2 characters, that can do a lot. And if you're willing to bring them down from being fully dimensional to doing them made out of paper, like, you can pretty much do anything, really. So as long as you're willing to be flexible and go with paper or clay, or use like toys that already exist but modify them a little bit, or use like human pixelation, or make stuff out of like found objects, like truly stop motion can fit any kind of budget and any kind of timeline, as long as you're willing to like expand your horizons and be a little creative with the ultimate creative vision. And that's something I think is very cool, that you can just animate literal trash and it will look really cool if you're willing to like let somebody be creative with the animation.
Ooh, sounds quite traumatizing.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that tour of Apartment D. I want to thank Cami Kwan for taking the time out of her busy schedule to show me around the studio. And if you're an animator or an artist and you're looking for work, you might give them a call. Or if you're a independent producer looking for stop motion work, you should call them as well. I'll leave the information below, and check out their YouTube channel. It's pretty fun. They have a lot of videos on there showing stop motion project they worked on, and also kind of a making of at the end, which is pretty fun. And if you enjoyed this episode at all and you'd like to become a member of Animateducated, you can press this button right there. It says join. Just go ahead and press that button. And if not, you can subscribe. Yeah, by pushing that button over there. What other button can we push? I don't know. But I do have some other videos you might like this one right here. This is a good one. And this one's not so bad either. There we go. And I'll see you next time on Animateducated.